Okay, let's get to it. We've got an hour to chill. And I'm not sure what I really want to do right now, but I think, if anything, I'm going to let this go and I'm going to start formatting this part 2 stuff. Can I do this? Oh, this is going to get real weird, isn't it? Let's see. So if I were to go 150, part 2, essentially we have to replace... Oh, this is consciousness part 2. I'm sorry. This is not part 2 draft outline. I'm drafting the next video, so that'll be hopefully coming out soon because it's not going to require as much. I think a little, like maybe later on in it, we're going to have to actually do a deep dive. So maybe it will require a bit of extra work, but until then, so far it's been pretty chill. I don't think this is going to work. I think I got to just put it on a different screen. Yeah, let's put it over here. And then let's work it in. Because currently our part 2 here isn't up to date with the one we've got on the side. So we could just start placing things in. Let's just add a horizontal line. All right, but I do want to hear this, so let's let it rip.
From Changi Airport and rose into the warm sky above Singapore.
Crazy coincidental, though.
Captain Richard de Crespigny was about to turn off the seatbelt signs when, boom, an explosion. What was that? Boom! A second explosion, much louder. The whole plane shook. Was it an engine failure? 2 explosions. 2 engine failures? No time to think. Bing, 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 bing. The whole cockpit erupted in a concert of alarms and warning lights. They were at 7,000 feet, far above the mountaintops. So de Crespigny hit the altitude hold button, which automatically brings the plane level and slows the engines. They felt the nose dip, but the engines were still running at full speed. Bing, 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 dozens of alarms going off all at once. De Crespigny pulled back on the thrust levers. The engine slowed. Good. But if he had to slow the engines manually, then that meant that the auto thrust system wasn't working. Something was seriously wrong. In addition to Captain de Crespigny, there were actually 4 other pilots in the cockpit that day. A first officer, a second officer, and 2 extra pilots who wouldn't normally be there, but they were there to conduct routine evaluations. What none of them knew at the time was that an oil pipe in engine 2 burst, melting and fracturing a 350-pound metal turbine disc. That was the first bang. And hurling metal pieces out of the engine at 1.5 times the speed of sound. That was the second bang. This engine explosion caused the most damage that any Airbus aircraft had ever experienced in the air. Metal pieces tore through the left wing, punctured fuel tanks, because the fuel tanks in commercial aircraft are located inside the wings. Shrapnel shredded wires, destroyed electronic and computer systems.
This is all stuff we didn't know yesterday.
Over 200 pieces that pelted the side of the passenger compartment. The head flight attendant, Michael von Reth, said that it sounded like 1,000 marbles being thrown onto a corrugated iron roof. Passengers seated on the left side of the plane from row 31 back looked out their windows and saw the left wing bent open like a sardine can, with jet fuel spewing out into the air. They also lost control of about half of their flaps, slats, ailerons, and rudders, the things that they use to steer the plane. But they were flying stable and maintaining altitude. And miraculously, so far at least, no one was injured. De Crespigny took a deep breath and turned on the cabin announcement system. This is your captain speaking. An engine has failed. There's a hole in the wing. We are leaking fuel. But we have 4 engines, and 3 of them are still working. Me and my fellow pilots practice engine failure procedures every 3 months. We are reconfiguring the aircraft and will land back in Singapore. As standard practice, there will be fire engines waiting for us by the runway. I won't be able to talk to you again before landing because I'll be busy doing my job. But you also have a job to do. Stay calm, stay in your seats, and listen to your cabin crew. You can do it. I'll see you on the ground.
That's significantly nicer than what we came up with yesterday.
That they didn't land immediately is that they didn't know how. The left wing was leaking fuel rapidly, but the right wing was still loaded with enough fuel for a full flight. So they were 42 tons over their maximum landing weight, and so out of balance that they could topple over as soon as they touched the ground. The computer system said that they should land at a speed of exactly 145 knots, except that calculation was based on the assumption that all 16 of the A380's lift-generating slats were working. In fact, 0 of their slats were working. Luckily, there were those 2 extra pilots on board, so they ignored the computer recommendation, and de Crespigny assigned the extra pilots the task of calculating their landing speed manually. They also had to calculate their landing distance. Singapore's longest runway is 4,000 meters long. They calculated that with all the damage, if they did everything perfectly, they would need 3,900 meters. What about landing in another airport? Nope. There are no runways longer than 4,000 meters anywhere in Indonesia or Malaysia. Singapore was their only option. Except all of these calculations were based on the aerodynamic profile of the A380 as it came off the factory floor. But the left wing was now bent out of shape. There were holes in the wing. Would it generate enough lift? At what speed would it stall? Captain de Crespigny quietly decided that they would need to do in-flight control checks. I know it sounded mundane, but that last sentence that I just said is crazy. In-flight control checks are what military fighter pilots do in battle when their wings are riddled with bullet holes and they have to figure out if their plane can land safely. What they do is they dramatically, even wildly, whip the plane around in the air. They push it right up to the limit of stalling and falling out of the sky as a means of determining what that limit is. There is not a single mention in any airline textbook of in-flight control checks, and certainly not for the A380, the largest commercial plane ever built. It's a double-decker airplane. There are 2 floors. The maximum seating capacity is 853 people.
It's kind of wild.
Each wing is as long as a 15-story building is high. You can't just whip that plane
Source
around
Original.
in the air.
How's it going? Good evening. I'm just kind of chilling this for this stream. It's not going to be too long, unfortunately, but we got like a good 50 minutes, I think. We were going to watch this last night, but we ended up talking about, crazy enough, we started talking about whether or not we could land a plane. And we determined we probably couldn't. So, yeah, coincidentally, this was about a plane. So, I'm new to this guy's channel, but he's kind of blown me away in his teaching style, the charisma he has. So, yo, Jago, what's good? I could do it. It's grim, Jago. It's pretty rough. Like I was going into what you would need to do in order to actually land it, and there's a lot going on that we probably couldn't do, even if we were on flight control. So unfortunately, Onion Helmet, what's good? Onion Helmet, you wouldn't believe how elegant the announcement was. Actually, maybe we could find it. 6:30.
We are leaking fuel, but they were flying stable, at least, on the cabin announcement system.
Yeah, here we go.
This is your captain speaking. An engine has failed. There's a hole in the wing. We are leaking fuel, but we have 4 engines, and 3 of them are still working. Me and my fellow pilots practice engine failure procedures every 3 months. We are reconfiguring the aircraft and will land back in Singapore. As standard practice, there will be fire engines waiting for us by the runway. I won't be able to talk to you again before landing because I'll be busy doing my job, but you also have a job to do. Stay calm, stay in your seats, and listen to your cabin crew. You can do it. I'll see you on the ground.
That was so much better than what we came up with. I think someone would have stormed the cockpit if we went with what we ended up saying. I think I could figure it out. I think I'm nice. You just have to do it, you know? You just have to land it. Can anyone shoot me a Discord invite? Oh, yeah. Is that... the Discord link, I feel like, hasn't been working for anyone. There we go. And I know it is. It's like something that should pop up in this chat. On the in from Twitch works. The YouTube one wasn't working. Oh. Interesting. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, so maybe I missed one. Because, yeah, the Linktree one I think is working right now. But I didn't realize that there was a different one that I missed on YouTube. Huh. That's an oversight, seeing as all of our traffic recently has been from YouTube. So I'm in the server, nice. Hell yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, there's something going wrong here where there should be an announcement in the introductions channel when someone joins the server, and it's just not working, and I've just kind of not troubleshot that yet, but I'm sure it's not too crazy of an issue. But yeah, I should probably just find the Linktree one. Can I just copy this? And then we just need to go to YouTube. And I'm guessing this is like in my about on the channel. Links, Linktree. Huh, where do we have Discord on the channel? Probably should get a watermark. Get this guy in there. Problem is, you know what? No, I think they make it slightly transparent, so I think I could just put that same image. All right, let's get the end of this thing.
It just whipped that plane around in the air. So
I don't know if everyone caught what he said up until this point, but apparently because the situation that the pilot is in is so unique in terms of they've lost basically all the fuel in one wing, and they've lost a lot of the flaps on the wings that allow it to stay up properly. The pilot has decided that they're going to do control checks, which he was describing as something that only like Air Force pilots do to see if they can land in situations in war. And so this is like a very skilled technique that this pilot's going to deploy right now.
I don't blame the other pilots for not having reached the same conclusion. But Ducrepny realized that, from an aeronautical perspective, the damage to their left wing was not dissimilar to bullet fire. Yes, we're not flying a fighter jet, but in the next few minutes, one way or another, we are going to find out whether the left wing is generating enough lift. We can either find it out now, thousands of feet up, with time to adjust, or we can find out 50 feet above the runway, moving at over 150 knots, dropping fast, with 469 souls aboard. Landing this plane with a torn-up left wing is a control check. The only question is whether we first do a practice one up here. So they did the control check. Ducrepny pushed his side stick 10% to the left. Nothing happened.
It's always the left wing.
They had lost control of most of their slats. He pushed the side stick 100% to the left. The plane gently rolled left. Same thing on the right side. They didn't have nearly as much control as normal, but they could steer. Then, they set themselves an imaginary runway in the sky and did a full dress rehearsal of the landing at 4,000 feet. The result was that both wings were generating enough lift to safely land. As they approached the airport, they knew that they had to land at exactly 166 knots. Too slow, and they would lose lift, fall, and crush the landing gear beneath them. Too fast, and they would overrun the runway. Within just a few feet of the ground, they were descending too fast, so de Crespigny pushed the side stick forward, which tilted the nose down, but lifted the back landing gear up at just the last second to soften the blow. They touched down, gently, wheels on the ground. But they weren't slowing down. The other pilots screamed, "Max braking, Richard!" "I am," de Crespigny said. He pushed the brake pedals hard against the floor, his back jammed against the seat cushion. The first officer pushed his feet down, reaching for his brake pedals, only to discover that they were already fully depressed. They slid down the runway, past the midpoint where several fire engines were positioned, then past the 3,000-meter mark. They could see the end of the runway approaching. Slowly, they came to a stop. 11:46 a.m., touchdown, on the same runway that they took off from. After sitting on the runway for over 2 hours, the 440 passengers assembled in the airport terminal. Someone handed de Crespigny a microphone, and he explained everything. Engine 2 had failed in such a way that led to holes in the wing, several leaking fuel tanks, damaged flaps, slats, and ailerons. He explained how they manually calculated and then double and triple checked their landing speed. He explained how engine failures only happen about once in every 300,000 hours, and never as severely as this. Statistically, he said, you will never experience another engine failure again. Then he took questions. Why did we have to sit on the plane for 2 hours after landing? Someone asked. The alternative, de Crespigny explained, would have been an emergency evacuation with the inflatable yellow slides. But that's a chaotic and dangerous undertaking. People get pushed to the ground, children get disoriented and become separated from their parents. Unavoidably, some percentage of elderly passengers break their hips. And jet fuel was still pouring out of the left wing. So even if we got everyone down onto the runway, you would be walking through a pool of what is basically kerosene ankle deep. And also, we just landed 35 knots faster than normal. The brakes were burning white hot and surrounded by jet fuel. De Crespigny kept answering questions for 50 minutes. Then, there were no questions left. According to airport staff, the passengers seemed happy. And if you look at photos of the passengers leaving the airport after this harrowing incident, you can't help but notice that they're smiling. So that's the story. But did you notice the kinds of things that de Crespigny had to do that day? So much of it went beyond the technical skills that we normally associate with piloting an aircraft. Of course, he needed those technical skills, dexterity in maneuvering, the side stick, knowledge of the aircraft, and so on. But most of what he did was reasoning and communicating. And communication, not just in the sense of transmitting information or issuing orders, but communication in the sense of persuading, debating, pacifying, negotiating. Here's my point. The difference between a good pilot and a great pilot is not further improvements in one's ability to maneuver the aircraft. The difference between a good pilot and a great pilot consists in the possession of a whole body of wide-ranging, fundamental intellectual skills. You know, like the kinds of skills you get with a broad, capacious, liberal arts education. The story of Captain Richard de Crepney and Qantas Flight 32 is a story about the immense power of one of those intellectual skills. And I don't even want to say it because you guys are going to think, oh, this guy is such a philosophy professor. But here goes. It's a story about the absurd, immense power of the giving of reasons. Well, I can feel you backing away.
Get Brandon in here.
He did it like 3 times. First, when Captain de Crepney made his in-flight announcement, this is the captain speaking and all that, he didn't say to the passengers, you are safe. He didn't have to, because he supplied the facts that prove or evince that they are safe. That's what a reason is. A reason is a fact or piece of information revealed at the right time. It's a fact that pilots do engine failure training every 3 months. But if you hear that fact immediately after an engine failure, it's not just a fact. It's also a reason to think that you are safe. The opposite of giving someone reasons is giving them,
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
Vague,
so it's a little bit of a
reassurance.
stretch, but it does work.
Just imagine if he had come on the intercom and said to passengers who could see holes in the wing, don't worry, you're safe. They would have been terrified, because telling people that they are safe without giving them any reasons to persuade them that they are safe doesn't work. Second, de Crepney's radical decision to do in-flight control checks seems like a feat of technical brilliance, but it was also a triumph in the realm of reasons and persuasion. The fact that it's better to find out whether your wings are generating enough lift at 4,000 feet as opposed to 50 feet, that's a fact. But in the context of this decision, it's also a reason to do in-flight control checks. If de Crepney had not been able to lay out the logical case, he still could have done it. He still could have done the control checks, because he's the captain. But as President Mandel mentioned, in addition to my academic appointment, I run a small organization. And here's the one thing I know about leadership. If you're the boss and you have to order someone to do something, you've already failed. Third, and finally, think about what surely happened to that passenger who asked why they had to sit on the runway for 2 hours after landing. What happened was that de Crepney persuaded them. The moment before they asked that question, that person thought that sitting on the plane for 2 hours was a bad idea. But once de Crepney gave them some reasons, like, for example, an ankle-deep pool of jet fuel on the runway.
Yeah, I'm on board certainly with the reasons stuff. I think reasons has to be a huge topic, or reasoning in general has to be a huge topic in part 2 here. Literally within, thinking right where I'm at, logical reasoning. It's going to be something that's huge in the topic of social relations and communication. I don't remember. This would be, where did we put this? This? We got to do communication. Effective communication, reasoning, etc. These are huge topics that we have to make sure we knock out of the park in part 2. But I guess what I was getting at is the initial definition. You could make that case. It's just like a slight stretch to say it's. You could say almost anything's a fact, really. Anything that someone says or thinks, etc. So I would probably go for a slightly different way of saying it, but it still stands. It's still, if we're really just talking about how effective reasoning is, then yeah, that's all you have. And it's in order to not just like persuade, but like, and I know compel is like a very strong word as well, but to pretty much just allow people to get to the point where they feel comfortable going a certain direction.
They then thought that sitting on the plane for 2 hours was a good idea. We have an incredible phrase for this process. We use this phrase every day and never think about how astounding it is. If you are good enough at giving reasons, then you can, and here's the phrase, change someone's mind.
Ooh.
They have their mind, it's out there, and you can reach in and change it. If you say the right facts at the right time, in the right order, then their mind, the seat of their consciousness and
This
beliefs
is a really great
and
way of saying
desires,
this.
you alter it. What an incredible thing.
I mean, granted, if we really go down to the nitty-gritty, like the most granular sense, almost anything you do in the presence of someone else is going to alter their minds in some way. Now, granted, if you were to do things that are more salient to them, it's going to alter their minds like more so in larger ways, you could say, or more significant ways. But that doesn't have to necessarily be that doesn't have to be necessarily making good reasons. That could just, making an impression. Like you could start screaming in a public place, and that'll create an impression in someone's mind that they'll remember. So yeah, it's communicating the right things. It's providing the right stimuli to get them to practically. So like in your mind, I'm trying to communicate. It's to get someone else to practically think about the things in the same way that I do. So I think that would actually be pragmatic. Like pragmatically speaking, you want someone to understand something in a similar way that you understand it as you're trying to communicate it. And that thing that you might be understanding has implications as to what we do next. So yeah, it's about communication, etc.
Imagine for a moment what would have happened if Ducrepny had not addressed the passengers in the airport after landing. Forget the fact that he did it so well. What if he hadn't spoken to them after the flight at all? Well, they would have been addressed by some airline executive or PR staffer. Okay, and that person would have done their best. But what would they have said to the question about why they sat on the runway for 2 hours? You know what they would have said. Our number one priority at this airline is passenger safety. Our trained and experienced pilots and ground crew determined that waiting on the plane was the safest course of action. Duh! But what are the reasons that explain why it was the safest course of action? I'm talking about the difference between informing someone of a decision and persuading them that it was the right decision. And what makes that difference is reasons. In a television interview, a passenger was asked if anyone panicked. They responded, "Everyone was calm. The captain and Qantas crew were fantastic. Qantas was fantastic. The fire truck sprayed water to cool the brakes and laid foam on the leaking fuel." Can you imagine being on that flight and sitting on that runway? And, oh, I didn't even mention this. The air conditioning didn't work. And then, still, coming out of that experience, thankful and smiling and defending the crew and airline? Defending the airline? Such is the power of reasons to actually answer people's questions. Not vetted corporate statements, but actually answering people's questions. Ducrepny kept answering questions not until he ran out of time, Not until he got tired and bored, but until they didn't have any questions left. He kept explaining and persuading and giving reasons until they were satisfied. That's what reasons do, and what vague reassurances don't. They satisfy. They make you feel full.
Was that a premature clap?
Like you've eaten enough. Okay, so if vague reassurances are so bad, and reasons, giving reasons, is so good, then why is our world full of so much empty, unpersuasive blather? Why doesn't everyone just explain and justify?
That would be so rough.
Because they can't. Explaining the reasons for a decision.
As the speaker, you should put that
marshaling
guy on
facts
blast.
in order to rationally persuade someone, that's a skill. It's not usually taught in pilot training. It is sometimes, when we do it right, taught in a liberal arts education.
This is why all pilots should study philosophy.
Laying out of evidence in the sciences and social sciences, in the careful presentation of argument in the humanities. This skill, the artful giving of reasons to change someone's mind, is the most underrated intellectual capacity that exists.
Start like pointing.
If you feel like you've gotten that from your education at Williams College, then, like the passengers on Qantas Flight 32, you should leave happy, smiling. Thank you.
Pretty good. I'll give it a good 7 for a speech. Yeah, I feel like everyone should get this book. You know, this is I don't know if this is a 101 book, but this is maybe every third year in college, you know, just give them articulating reasons. Humanities majors try not to talk about how STEM majors have, they got to read obscure Greek philosopher number 12 or something of the sort. Challenge. This is a headline here. STEM majors try not to talk about their career prospects. Yeah, it is true. Big ups, massive big ups to Big Bob Brandom. That's what we call him here. Big Bob Brandom. When's Brandom writing another book? That's the real question. I think I've done this multiple times now on stream where I just kind of wondered this and looked, but I'm not sure. Oh, look at this. Is this an actual book? Reasons for logic, logic for reasons, pragmatics, semantics, and any guesses? And conceptual roles. Oh my gosh, I have to read this book now. Presents a philosophical conception of logic, logical expressivism, according to which the role of logic is to make explicit reason relations which are often neither monotonic, nor transitive. This conception of logic reveals new and enlightening perspectives on inferential roles, sequent calculi, representation, truth makers, and many extant logical theories. So this is, just to be clear, that like what they're doing here is they're like conceptualizing, or they're putting some like interpretive lens on top of like just like base communication, base reasoning. Like they're trying to make a science out of reasoning, right? They're doing what we kind of do in the document, where we leverage what do? We conceptualize like the contents of our understanding and the relations between different concepts that we have, how my concept for a writing utensil is connected somehow or related to my concept of a pen as I understand it. What they're doing is they're pointing out that when you're reasoning, that there's like by playing a reason, right? Like by adding it to the game, as if you're playing cards and you add it to the thing, like you are doing certain things. Now, of course, what the person who's giving the reason thinks they're doing and what other people infer from that play is different. You know, it's just stimuli at the end of the day that each person's going to interpret differently. So, you know, I don't know if I'm as thrilled about reading a book like this right now, though perhaps it would be useful. I'm not sure. This might need to go through the LLM ringer before I actually pick it up. In the introduction of a novel kind of formal semantics that interprets sentences by assigning inferential roles to them. The book offers logical expressivists and semantic inferentialists new way to understand logic, content, inferential roles, representation, and reason relations. Right. Like the main thing though is that this is like a highly speculative exercise that they're doing, given that it's not grounded in empirical science. This book will appeal to researchers and graduate students who are interested in the philosophy of logic, in reasoning, in reasons and reasoning, in theories of meaning and context, or in non-monotonic and non-transitive logics. Nice. BBB, baby. Look at that beard. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that beard is kind of serious stuff. Not everyone can deal with this type of beard. Man, I'm wondering, like, if I could actually wear this type of beard, would I do it? Would I venture, like, would I feel worthy enough to actually do this? I feel like I couldn't do this until I was like 40. Could we get a Robert Brandom as a kid? Not as a kid, but like as like an early teacher? Young? It's like he's like 20 and he still looks like this. Oh, is this it? Maybe not. I don't know. I should probably just click these links. He looks like he lives in Middle Earth. Hey, fair enough. $96. Was that book? Because that's kind of crazy. He should have left it at and. You get longer beards when you reason more. Makes me look inwards a bit, knowing I can't really grow a beard. Oh, man. Imagine all the beard crumbs from eating soups. Yeah, I mean it would really mess with me. I mean, I think a beard or a mustache is like kind of worse. Nah, you know what? I take that back. A beard is like terrible when you eat anything that's a little oily. So this has to be an absolute pain to manage. It's like you go out to, and you like eat at the beginning of an event, and then you have to stay for the entire event. Like you have to find a bathroom and just like watch your face at some point. Have I seen Nietzsche's mustache? I probably have, but I haven't put much thought to it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this would be a real pain as well. Gosh. What do you do with this thing? This is how he hides, like no one could read his lips. I don't know what kind of power level that is. What's the feelings here on the ethics of using zlib and stuff? Well, as a good community member, I would never talk about doing that. But I'll just leave it there. Yeah, it's tough. It's like I feel like, you know, ethically, I feel like I have a moral imperative to learn this stuff so that I can, you know, put it into this nice large document that we have that hopefully will help people be able to achieve their goals and you know, have a life that feels great. So, you know, it's tough. Like, what's the dollar cost of that? Should I still just, you know, pay for every single source that I ever look at? It's tough. It's tough to say. It's a little gray. So I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm not sure what the broader community thinks, though. Honestly, I think the broader community cares more about using AI than they do about stealing textbooks, even though technically they're both stealing textbook stuff. All right, what were we gonna do
Hey
after
guys,
that?
it's Cosmic.
Oh, we had another Alex video. Compatibilism debunked. Oh yeah, I think there was a couple.
People are saying that the
Humanities aren't dead while philosophy lives. Okay, these are kind of long, so I think I'm gonna not do those today. Someone sent this in a comment, I think. So I was gonna check this one out. But I think those are gonna be for another day. Yeah, I haven't really planned anything else. I gotta head out in like 15 minutes, so if anyone's got any recommendations or anything. Otherwise, we could just churn away at part 2. Connect 4 tournament. How do we do this? Connect 4 tournament. What's the site? Isn't there a haven't they figured out Connect 4? I'm gonna ruin it right now. What's the move in Connect 4? Oh, actually no, I know it. It's okay. The idea is that the first person that goes should always choose the middle, and I think you can't lose. I don't know how to not lose, but you can't lose if you're the one who places the first one. However, you don't necessarily win. Like the other person can force the tie. So it's always the first person that places one is essentially trying to get that win, and the second person is always trying to force a tie in the upper echelon of Connect 4. And I imagine that they've figured out Connect 4 such that you can always force a tie. I mean, I guess we could do chess at some point. I don't know if that's like good content, but I would rip chess on stream if that was, something people would enjoy. I'm 2.4K rated. Oh my gosh. I doubt it. Unless you are. I lied. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Do you still play, or like do you actually play? Okay, what happened here? There's no reason to. Oh, I see. I remember what's going on here. Most recently, we were considering how to go about this. I don't know what this section is going to be called. The overarching concepts and key players involved, where we talk about 1.1, the context of you. Here's the unique starting point. Okay, so this was going to be understanding your unique circumstances. So this is like right here, and then it would be called something like that. It would be called maybe the context of you. Then we've got, oh, this premise deserves to be at right here. Then we've got the core levers. Actually, we've kind of changed this, right? Now I can probably go back to here. The core levers. Did we change it here? The levers. The context of view. The core levers of agency. Okay. Core levers of agency. The primary what of deliberate action. So this is where we would go over attention and focus. Then anything in this discussion. So mindfulness, ADHD, how temperament might factor in. And we've already discussed temperament here. So motivation. Okay, but then next we do the internal obstacles. So this is everything like automatic concerns and biases, emotional regulation. Like this is all the stuff that we just have to deal with that kind of gets in our way of, you could think of like, in a very new atheist way of like rationality, but in our way it would just be of deliberately going towards what you want to go to. So this is going to be the internal obstacles. These names are, I don't know if these names are that great, but we will fix them up. And then we have the foundational support system. Aha, yeah. This is touching on all the things that we can do to essentially combat these things. Combat the internal obstacles and boost the core levers here. So this is stuff like meditation, again, but this time as the tool for focus rather than just mindfulness. Stress management techniques, ice baths, if there's anything there. Foundational support system. Okay, so that's that. And what started this? This was it was probably right here. Here's the outline. Take notice of the points. Before we can continue adding on to the outline, I want to have a higher level discussion about the scope and comprehensiveness about this outline. Do you think I'm including everything that I ought to include for this to be as effective as it possibly can be? And we're on to section 2. All right, so what does it want for section 2 here? Chess is the kind of thing where if you aren't GM by age 3, you just play for fun. Yeah, I almost feel like that's probably the same with like learning to play the piano. I don't know if you saw, but the Chopin award or finalists, the Chopin competition was last week or this week, and
Sora 2 is now on Artlist.
Oh my gosh. And like, yeah, I think that if you aren't practicing for many hours a day, they were saying that like all the finalists were saying that they practice for like anywhere from like 4 to 8 hours a day. Like, I think you're just done. You're just, you can't do it. You can't compete if you don't start doing this when you're like really, really young. So this was the winner. I guess this was his winning final round, I think. We should just listen to piano on this channel, honestly. Instruments are a bit more different. The thing with chess is that all the GMs all have this photographic memory of thousands and thousands of games. That is true. That is true. Well, now, you know what? What if it's similar where these guys have photographic memories of sheet music, of, you know, all kinds of different piano players, styles, and like it's almost similar in the sense that it's like you just remember so many different players' styles from history because it's all on paper. Like the way that people learn like these famous chess matches is they literally look at the papers that say the moves, and sometimes they'll see the images as they happen, but you can become quite good at playing the piano in a year or two. There are almost no GMs that become so in a year or two. That's a fair point. Yeah, I would have to like find a really. The problem with piano is that it's like almost subjective. So like, I don't know how you test for someone that's like a GM level pianist, but in fact, there are no chess GMs I know of that started late, at least in modern times. Quite good is not a very good indicator. That's correct. Yeah, it's even weird with like this competition. It was just judges who gave scores, and they had to aggregate the scores together. So, still not objective at all, but kind of objective. Actually, never mind. I shouldn't say that. It's kind of objective, right? Where you're aggregating scores, but it's like each score is subjective. I played piano for over a decade, and you can get to intermediate play, but phenomenal piano players are just something else. You can't get to that level quite as easy. Yeah, I'm guessing that we probably could make this analogy pretty similar. But I do agree that like that chess is a little more intuitive here. What about would good analogies also be types of gamers, like a Shroud type guy? I mean, obviously Shroud's not like one of the best in terms of competitive. I mean, I guess you could say he's one of the best, but he's not anywhere like near the best. And I imagine those types of people have to start playing when they are really, really young in order to just get that skill ingrained in their muscle movements. Same with probably like a League of Legends, you probably could just, man, do young League players study games? Like, do you think that they look at Worlds from like 10 years ago and then just study that? I mean, I guess it's not that long, not much to study, relatively speaking. They watch Solar Cures. I think that just happens when you do something a lot. I know good Tetris players don't look at the game, for example. They just look at the next pieces and know where and how to place it. Oh, that's really cool. Right. Yeah, it's probably so ingrained there. The moral of the story is that if you didn't start when you were a child, yeah, no, I do agree with you with your original premise. I'm just being a stickler here. And do not have rich parents who could finance your hobby. You need to work for the corporate overlords. Yikes. Since solo queue is a different game from team-based play. So then, yeah, why would they study solo queue if it's a different game? Or is it mainly because they need to get to that? They need to get the exposure from climbing ranked. Because Worlds from 10 years ago players were worse than Diamond players today. Wow. Interesting. You get to high ranks and then you get a chance to play on teams. Okay. So it's much more important that you're good at solo queue. Huh. That's like really interesting. For chess, that would be like, once you get to the majors, like once you get to GM level, like one of the pieces has a different move set. And so like you're really playing a completely different game. It means you understand the level 3 the level 3 level 4 abstractions of the game and can see 15 minutes into the future based on each decision. Right. Are there any composers who started learning after puberty and became known? It's a good question. Where do I should just copy your. Hey, is relatively rare since most professional composers start very young. However, some examples stand out as exceptions. No way this guy's last name was Brian. Havergal Brian. Oh my gosh. I think you're gonna have me on this one. How about chess players? All right, before we do that, let's see. We got Charles Ives. I think I've heard of Charles Ives. Haven't heard of Havergal Brian. Elliot Carter. Yeah, it's so tough to like know like, okay, how good were they actually? Like, how good is who's that guy that like conducts a whole orchestra by improv? Collier, Jacob Collier. Like, how good is Jacob Collier at what he does compared to like the best? That's what I want to know. I don't know. I started playing Counter-Strike only a year ago, having always sucked at shooters, and through focus practice, I got pretty good. Top 7%. I think it just takes longer when you're older, and you get compounding effects when you start young. Okay. That's really cool. Do you do like training outside of the game? Like, I know there's the AIM lab. Is it AIM labs? Plus having to worry about other things in adult life, like family and responsibilities. It's got to be harder to become a Brian level composer compared to actually becoming something in chess. A lot easier, yeah. I mean, maybe a Brian level composer is high up there. Interestingly, none like, oh, this one's somewhat recent. Oh, no, it's not. This person just lived forever. Wow. Started composing seriously around age 18. Huh. How about that's an excellent and often misunderstood question. In chess, unlike in many other intellectual fields, early start matters a lot because top-level mastery strongly depends on early pattern recognition developed during childhood. However, there are few known exceptions. Players who started serious chess study after puberty and still reached high levels of recognition. So true exceptions. We got Mir Sultan Khan, who reached the top 100 or became grandmasters. We got Henry Grab. And how recent are these? Like, on one hand, like, it might be harder if like in a more contemporary setting, given that the competition's better, but it might be easier because you have better tools and understanding about how you learn. Started around age 12, 13, borderline case. Wow. Yeah, no one that's like really, really new. Yeah, no, I think you got, so yeah, here's the question. Is there any other intellectual pursuit that's similar, or is chess uniquely special in this case? Mid to late teens in chess is pretty much unheard of, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I mean, it's got to just be so competitive now. One that gets at the intersection of cognitive science, talent development, and domain-specific expertise. The short answer is chess is not entirely unique, but it's one of the most extreme examples where early start gives an unusually large advantage. Because chess combines formal finite rules, it's a closed system, and a massive pattern memory space. So yeah, it's really important to get that early pattern recognition. Man, what kind of parent has to do this to their kid? Actually, I'm kind of curious though. I mean, I'm not saying that it's always bad to do this to your kid, but how many of these are cases where the parent set out to get their kid into chess, or how much of these where the kid got really interested into chess and the parents entertained that interest. How do you decide when to chat with GPT versus Gemini or Claude? That's a good question. I only have GPT and Gemini paid for, so I stick to them. One of the things that affects it is there a good leaderboard right now? Is this a leaderboard? Oh no, we don't want to go to arena. Maybe here. Usually it's like stuff like this. Who's best in reasoning right now? Grok we can't trust by principle. So right now, like, yeah, it's a toss up here. Now Gemini, what Gemini's got going for it is it can take in huge context windows. So I can literally just go and add my entire document here, which is, you know, quite a lengthy document. It's got quite a bit in each of its parts. And I can ask, what is part 2 going to do in this document? This is actually a really easy question to answer because, you know, it's literally on the landing page. But it can read the entire document and then just give me answers about it, which is really helpful. Luckily, it isn't like this is for academic study. We're in luck, except mathematics, I guess. But then I don't think it's if you didn't start learning mathematics at age 2, you won't get anywhere. Yeah, I wonder if it's easier to have like a finding, like a significant finding in the field. Yeah, so it can give us so much stuff from the document that I don't know if ChatGPT can do yet. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a toss-up. It's whatever I'm in the mood for. I think I've kind of been keeping it separate on stream now, where like ChatGPT is the go-to to ask questions on stream that are related to just like what people, you know, one-off ask, and then Gemini is working on like the document stuff, so I kind of can organize the conversations that way. Has anyone actually tried it though? Starting chess at 30 and giving it their all to see if they got super good? I don't think it's been done. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure people have tried, but I don't know if someone's like tried with all the information we know about how to effectively learn like really quickly. Identify what to pursue. Okay, this is oh, we're back to that. Okay, what am I supposed to be doing? This guy. Fields with similar early start advantages. Music performance, especially instruments. Okay, but where? Building complex procedural and perceptual fluency. So I guess the only thing is that when we started out here, we did composers when I think we need players. Like, I don't know if composing is necessarily the skill we're looking for. I think we're looking for who can play the most difficult pieces, like this guy right here. Evidence, violinists, pianists, etc., who begin playing before age 10 overwhelmingly dominate the concert world. Right, but the specific argument you made is that there's fewer exceptions, right? So I don't know if this would even still... composition, yeah, it doesn't depend on early motor memory. Mathematical problem solving. The other thing that's interesting is like this competition. So like this is a huge competition. It happens once every 5 years. There's like an age cutoff. Like I think it might be 35, either 35 or 30. There's an age cutoff where like literally you just cannot compete if you're old enough, because they want to get younger players in the mix. They want to give them a highlight. This isn't very surprising, given that you could say the same for language. Very, very few. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, very few people will speak phonetically as good as a native speaker does, unless they're a linguist and train their muscles very well. Yep. Computer programming. Whoa. Especially algorithmic contests. Top competitive programmers often start in early adolescence. Man, competitive coding sounds terrible. Coding fluency and algorithmic pattern recognition share features with chess calculation. Contrast, broader software engineering or theoretical CS can accommodate much later starts. Hell yeah. Foreign language mastery, as you mentioned. Fields that don't require an early start. Philosophy. Nice. Writing, visual art, scientific research, and even mathematical theorem proving are open to late bloomers. All right. Chess, Go, and high-level instrumental music are all pattern-saturated closed systems where early exposure creates an enormous and nearly irreplaceable cognitive base. I can't believe that no one's made an effective game for piano playing that would significantly expedite the pursuit of getting pretty good at piano. Like, I swear, if someone makes, and maybe I'll make this, if someone makes a roguelite or a roguelike on piano making or on piano playing, such that you make the game around improvising to what's playing, or maybe it's a bunch of different types of skills, but you put in a whole game in there where you can somehow, I guess, you get power-ups or whatever. Perhaps as you go, you gain instruments such that, when you're playing, it sounds different and whatnot. So you're kind of creating a better, like a nicer song. I don't know what you're doing every time. Like, it would be cool if every single run you create a song. That would be really awesome. And you lose early rounds if you're not able to do certain things. And so you get better. You just get better until you can get to those later rounds, and then you're now like learning how to improvise playing. You could probably play it with any group. Yeah, maybe there's sheet music stuff in there as well, so that now that's a skill that's incorporated. So you get this holistic education of piano just through a game. I think knowing this sort of stuff is useful for a generalist, smart person who doesn't know what to do and wants to contribute to some field. Oh, are you saying like the stuff that doesn't require the early start? General reasoning. Darmadon, what's good? From my experience, LLMs completely garble music theory. Right. I don't think we want to use LLMs for the game. I think we would use straight up software and math for the music. And which is difficult because obviously, if we got Jacob Collier in here, he would say that there's no wrong note, but we would need to have some type of rule such that, okay, this is dissonant enough that this isn't going to fly. You can't just start banging the keyboard. But how do you get that subjective judgment in a game like this? Perhaps you do use language models for something like that. Like, would this sound good? And then you just send that in, and it's got a yes or no answer. And if it says no, then you lose. Like they're good at everything but want to do something. Why compete with the 15-year-old mathematics professor? The 15-year-old mathematics. So are you saying that they're a 15-year-old child that's a mathematics professor? Or this is a mathematics professor that's been doing it for 15 years? I think we also have to pay attention to what sort of families these exceptional people in child genius fields come from, right? What are you designing? Oh, I was just saying that, like, I want to make a roguelike piano game where you essentially have to do a bunch of piano exercises / skills in order to get farther in a run. But every time you play, you're probably going to, make mistakes and you lose, and then you go back to the start. Like, you have to do another run, but somehow there's synergies in the run where maybe if you get like throughout the run, you're choosing your percussion, I don't know how this is going to affect scoring and stuff like that. We'd have to figure out how to really make this fun and compelling that you want to build. Like, what is a build in a piano roguelike? That's the thing that I'm curious about. Why do anything that's figured out already? World does still need, the work still does need to be done. People do need to be educated in mathematics, if that makes sense, and one person only has so much time. The person who's concerned with wanting to be regarded as Einstein level in some field, so they're doing it out of ego. Did I see Rob Scallon's game? It's pretty different. Never mind. Okay. I feel like I should check it out though. Is this the game? Fretless? Oh, is it for guitar or is it for? Turn-based RPG. Oh, this might be a game where it's about music, but it's not. I don't know if you're playing it as input. Maybe you are. Yeah, they should have made that clear in this trailer. Wait, is this the same guy that... Let me check this out. What's going on here? Developer, Ritual Studios. No, this is their only game. Publisher. Almost Gone, huh? I have played this one. That's best the way to say it. There is an ego association with wanting it. Wouldn't Guitar Hero be kind of like that? Not really, because it's a different instrument. Like, maybe if there was Piano Guitar Hero, but Piano Guitar Hero only practices one skill, which is actually a very different skill than is needed when you're actually needing to play piano with someone. Like, you're very good at now playing keys as you get the visual stimuli coming after you. But what I would like is something that teaches you how to improvise regardless of who you're playing with, such that you could just whip out a little jazz solo while you're playing with a band. Like, you could literally just come up on stage and play something with them. Either you know the keys, or you can maybe there's some exercises in the game that's related to what is it, perfect hearing? Is that what it's called? Something hearing, where you literally have to guess the keys and like you have to play with the keys as part of that round. Ear training, nice, thank you. Oh, you justify with music or something like music integrated game. Rocksmith is closest. Rocksmith. Oh. But it's guitar, I see. But you're actually playing which is
We
cool.
challenged people across the country to learn guitar in 60 days with Rocksmith.
Yeah.
Here's what happened.
Oh, wait, I should probably turn it up.
You totally nail each section.
Where I am in such a short time.
Rocksmith costs riffs that I can.
Well, is this? I wonder how much of this is similar to Guitar Hero. Because I'm skeptical at the breadth of skill that you get from a Guitar Hero type game with an actual instrument. Guitar Hero is way different. Okay. Well, I guess when I say different, I mean obviously Guitar Hero has the fake guitar, but with a real guitar, like is the gameplay the same, right? You're pressing the right things, even if it's a little more complex because you have to deal with the keys up here, and you have to deal with the strumming on the right strings. So it's more complex in that regard, but it's not getting the breadth of skill that you would want if you wanted to be able to improvise playing guitar, or read sheet music. Like that should be another skill that you learn throughout this game. Like, can you see is it a fretboard? I don't know how that works for a guitar. And then you should be able to play it. And if you just played the Guitar Hero game that with the actual guitar, you wouldn't be able to read that fretboard because it's not part of the game. Now, maybe somehow you mix them together such that you see the fretboard, but you're getting just the stimuli coming after you, and you have to put both together now, both skills. I don't know what other stuff they have on there, but yeah, some Guitar Hero gameplay with real guitar. Yep. I don't either as well. So not super necessary for guitar. Yeah, I feel that. Guitar players often read tabs. That's what it is. But they read sheet music too. Okay. All right, I gotta stop this. Unfortunately, I gotta jump off. But thanks for coming for the Chill Saturday stream. Unfortunately, no stream tomorrow, but we are back up on Monday, and we're doing our Kastrup deep dive. I know little to nothing about this guy, but apparently he's a big deal. So we gotta check him out. So. Yeah, peace out. Enjoy the rest of the day. Have a good one.